So friends, welcome to NRI Samay. We heard about the salt Satyagraha during our fight for independence, and very recently, thanks to the gross negligence of the Madhyapradesh government, we are hearing about the JanSatyagraha. There is another movement, another Satyagraha, the JanSatyagraha. Probably it's one of its kind in the recent times to have been, building a movement with about 100,000 people taking part or starting this incredible Padayatras from October 2nd. So let's welcome the people behind this movement, Aneesh-1 and Ravi Badri. Aneesh, Ravi, welcome to NRI Samay.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let me start off with asking Aneesh. So Aneesh, if you were to describe the JanSatyagraha in simple terms, how would you describe this? Because Satyagraha is a term, it seems we have forgotten with after we won our independence. So if you were to explain this to a common man, if you were to explain this to a layman, how would you put it in simple terms?
JanSatyagraha is a truth-based movement. Now, people who will only do the things through truth way. So JanSatyagraha is people through fight the rights through true way. So JanSatyagraha mainly based on some values which Gandhi did during the freedom struggle. So we are believing in non-violence and true things. We have nothing to negative for anybody. We only want to get the rights of very, very backward and indigenous people of this country. So that is JanSatyagraha is people coming together on true mind and true things to achieve the rights of indigenous of this country.
I see. So this is such a big movement, right? I mean, I was reading this online, like I mentioned in the introductory part of the program, about 100,000 people are going to start the march from October 2nd onwards. So obviously this is not something that you guys, planned in a week or a month. It's been probably planned for like a very long time. So Ravi, can you talk about, what actually sort of led to the whole movement, and when did this whole planning start?
What we are seeing as JanSatyagraha is the culmination of 30 years of effort of a people's movement called Ekta Parishad. This people's organization, Ekta Parishad, started in 1989. And since then, they have been taking small-scale actions, small-scale non-violent actions at the local level, district level, state level, and national level to address the root cause of poverty in rural India. What we see as the root cause of poverty in rural India is people's lack of control over their land, over their livelihood resources. We have been taking actions incrementally. We started with local actions, village level actions. Our first large-scale action was in 1989 when a group of 20 people, 40 people, a small group of people under the leadership of Sri P.V. Rajgopal walked from Gwalior, the Chambal Valley, to Raipur. It was a 6-month Padayatra. And an outcome of that was a land task force was constituted in Madhyapradesh, from which 3.5 lakh land cases were resolved. Since we saw that Padayatra as a non-violent action was effective, we continued that in other states. We did that in Bihar, in Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala. But then we find that it doesn't address all land-related problems, which is why Ekta Parishad organized its previous action in 2007 called Janadesh, that is People's Verdict. In Janadesh, in 2007, 25,000 landless people, Dalits, Adivasis, urban poor, all of them walked from Gwalior to Delhi advocating for land rights, land reform, and Forest Rights Act. The government kept up its promise to a certain extent. They implemented the Forest Rights Act. They constituted the National Land Reforms Committee and a council. The Prime Minister is the chairman of the council, and Rajgopalji is a member of that council. The civil society were members of the committee, and they did research for a year and submitted about 300 recommendations. The government has not even called for one meeting in the last 5 years. Because the government went back on their promises, and because the Forest Rights Act implementation was not done very well, wasn't implemented very seriously, we are forced to come back to apply more pressure on the government to implement what we call a pro-poor comprehensive land reform policy. So it's a culmination of 30 years of effort of Ekta Parishad as a people's organization and 40 years of effort of PV Raj.
There were 300 recommendations that the group made, and the government did sort of implement, brought in a few acts and brought in a few changes, but obviously it's the accountability or the lack of it, and also the implementation part where most of the issues seem to be sort of coming from. So I think you're doing an incredible job in highlighting all these things, but what is it that needs to be done to sort of have a strong mechanism to have these laws implemented, and how can we ensure that there is a proper mechanism to monitor them?
What we are advocating for is a comprehensive body, a new institutional framework which has as its mandate to review a lot of laws that are actually pro-poor. We have in this country many laws that are pro-poor. Sealing Act, the Benami Transaction Act, Tenancy Act. There is no dearth of laws that are pro-poor, but they don't get implemented. So an institutional framework where all these laws can be reviewed, implemented and monitored. And we're also asking that let's have civil society as members of the task force, members of this institutional body, to ensure that people's concerns do get reflected in the implementation of this body. That is one basket. The next basket is there are a number of laws that are not people's friendly. The HEZ Act, Mining Act, there are the Land Acquisition Act. There are many acts that are not people friendly. So we need a review of all those laws and which need to be modified and then re-implemented.
I see. So
the third basket is there have been several government recommendations by Planning Commission, by members like D. Bandyopadhyay Committee report. We have numerous recommendations made by numerous committees. Balakrishna Renke Committee report on the problems of nomadic tribes. There is no dearth of good recommendations. All of them are sitting idle. All we are asking for is go and bring them back, review them, and then implement them for the welfare of the people. So an institutional framework is needed. Land in India is a state subject. That is, there is an issue. So we cannot propose all the solution. A solution has to emerge in dialogue with the central government. All we can do as a people's organization with very limited capacities and resources is highlight the issue and work with the government through dialogue in finding a solution.
Right. I mean, this kind of dialogue definitely has to be with the people who are also getting impacted, right? So to that extent, if the people who have been displaced by, let's say, there's a big dam that the government is planning on building, or a power plant, or some road widening, or any one of these can cause land displacement issues. How easy or difficult or how challenging is it to engage with those people who have already been displaced, who are at the verge of, in despair? They completely are, feeling hopeless at that point in time. And here you are, where you're trying to gather all those people, build a mass movement, and then try and force the government. So how challenging has it been, the whole process? I mean, Anish, you can start off, and then Ravi, you can add to that.
Yeah. You see, the thing is that the land issue, earlier it was only the issues of backwards and indigenous people of this country. But at present, everybody is facing the same problem, even in middle class. Everybody is they are not getting sleep in this country because they don't know how they are getting the notice of displacement, because government is taking their own decision themselves to do the development process across the country by road or by dam, whatever things. But what we are trying to do is that, you see, the main challenge for us is that our demand is that if there is any displacement, there will be a land to land, not to the compensation. But government is trying to lobbying them to give more compensation and making them on to trouble. But I agree that there will be some issue which some people are very happy to get that money and do the things properly, and at the same time there is a small group who is really want to stay their own land, they don't want to leave the land. So we are trying to mobilize them also, because we have a lot of story like that in Faridabad and Agra. You can see who owned their own land earlier, and they gave that land for the new development process, and they are running the cycle rickshaw and surviving their life. That kind of things, because which kind of people they are getting this much money from this compensation of development, they don't have any mechanism to manage this money also. So that is also people are realizing. Now we are getting more people like that in this two movement. The same time, the land is a big subject. There is a big pressure from political party, companies and all that things. Even we are coming from Gwalior to Delhi, 1 lakh people. Even government and politicians are trying to influence them. The 1 lakh people will come, you will be disturbed, you will get this type of problem, so you don't want to support them. These kind of things. And you can also see not only the victims of landless, but also the same time you can see government is also day-to-day developing new law, like they ban all schools and colleges that they can't enter. They can't even intervene this type of movement. So these lot of things, but at the same time, who really realize this issue, I will also face this problem tomorrow. They are coming and joining. So we are getting support from across nowadays.
Right.
What I want to add to that is the challenges that we are seeing. As we have traveled over the last 1 year, from 2nd October 2011, from Kanyakumari, a group of people have been traveling through 350 districts and 24 states, trying to meet people who are organizing at the local level around the country on the issue of land and livelihood resources. We see several cases where people are very positive. Cases like Prachimada struggle, where people were able to get Coca-Cola out of their neighborhood. In Raigad, where people were able to get the relevance out of their neighborhood. Koel Karo struggle in Jharkhand, where people were able to prevent the development of a dam. There are many positive struggles where people have succeeded. There are also many struggles where people are losing out. The POSCO struggle, what you see today, the Kudankulam struggle. There are many struggles where people are losing out. So on one end, you see some ray of hope that through non-violence, through people's struggles, there is a hope. There are other places where the exploitation, the appropriation of resources, the transfer of resources from the poor to the corporations is so high, and so much force is being used. Especially if you see in the Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand and Orissa belt, what you see is the extraction of resources, the transfer of resources, land, mining and forest is so huge, and to support that, a lot of police, paramilitary forces are coming in to enable the transfer of resources. In these areas, social workers, social activists are completely frustrated. There is absolutely no place for saying no to this process of transformation, transferring.
Right.
So the democratic space for dissent is coming down drastically in this country. So we are under a huge problem. Adivasis themselves are not able to express their dissent to the problem. So when you ask how difficult is it, it is getting more and more challenging, and the government is doing all it can to reduce this space for non-violence. They are refusing to talk to non-violent movements. Any government initiative, if you see the Forest Ministry has taken, Tribal Welfare Ministry has taken many positive interventions in the last few months, but everything is being attributed to Naxalism. They refuse to talk to non-violent movements, and that is a problem.
Right.
Go on this, but I'll probably stop over here.
No, I think that gives a fair sense of what are the ground level challenges that you are facing when you walk into these villages and try to identify and also build something around the people who have been impacted by this gross negligence. One of the other questions that I am curious myself, slightly more personal, I think, Aneesh, I'd like to start out with you, is are you from a rural background, or are you from a family or a society which has been impacted by these issues? The question I'm trying to ask is, how did you get involved in these kind of activities? Because this is dealing with land issues is, as for me, is really hardcore issues. It's not like helping a government school or helping a kid go to school. None of those simple volunteering tasks. This is more like involved. So how did you manage to get introduced and further involved in this cause? What was the driving force behind this?
Myself, Anish, actually, I'm from Kerala, but I got my study in Sevagram, where Gandhi's ashram is staying. I got Gandhian studies there. Then I met Rajgopalji, and I will be personally, I doesn't like that I am a Gandhian, but at the same time, I am trying to spread how much I learned from Gandhi. So then I went to join Rajgopalji in 2000. Then from Bihar we started that type of activities directly. So what inspiration I got, the thing is that Rajgopalji, when he did the decade surrendering in Chambal, 1974, he did a 674 decades surrendered in front of Gandhi's photographs. So the same time, all the decades went to jail, but Rajgopalji was in charge of the rehabilitation of that decades. At that time, he realized how that people became decades. So the land was the root cause of that. He realized that day itself, 40 years back, the land is the core issue of this country. If we can solve the land issue from this country, we can reduce more than 75% of violence. So I got much inspired on that. Then I started work in Bihar. Then I went to Orissa, Jharkhand, different places. Last 10, 12 years I am working with this. And basically I am from a middle class. I never felt the same problem which my family or myself were fighting for the land rights things, but I got inspiration through non-violence how we can achieve the things. And I'm sure that Gandhi is more relevant than past in the future. So future we hope only in non-violence way we can achieve something. So that is why we are believing that ideology and trying to do without saying that Gandhi did that, Vinoba did that, but how we can. So that is why I'm here, and I'm really enjoying with that activities which Ekta Parishad and Rajgopalji engaged me.
Right. I think you said two important points there, which I'd like to go back after we hear Ravi's side of story as to what inspired him to sort of associate himself with these land movements, land issues rather.
My journey to Ekta Parishad was a little bit convoluted and it was not as straightforward. I had spent about 8 years in the US, 2 years as a student and 6 years as an employee on H-1B until 2006. And I came back to India in 2006, knowing very well I wanted to be in the social space, but wasn't clear how will that look like. I spent 2 years with an organization in Hyderabad called Bhumi. I had some numerous opportunities to work with the community, to take a few initiatives, but then I found myself falling short in my ability to work with the community. I was also seeing that in a place like Rasulpura, where you have 15 organizations working, At that time, I kind of wasn't seeing the changes that I was hoping to see after so many people are working through various voluntary organizations. I went back, I had an opportunity to go to Canada, to immigrate to Canada, and I used that opportunity to go there and study, to do another master's from University of Toronto. This was in a program called Adult Education and Community Development. I went to this program thinking I'll get some nice tricks, techniques to do some psychological manipulation, psychological training. That was the idea. But then my whole worldview opened up when I was going through this program, because it was all grounded in sociology, in political science, and I realized that the reason why I wasn't getting very far was I was operating as an engineer. I was operating as a middle-class person who was looking for individualistic solutions, thinking that you just give people these skills, these capacities, and they can come out of poverty. I wasn't able to make the social conditions in which requires us to be poor. I was introduced to a lot of... Am I going too fast?
No, go ahead. I think there was some other...
So I was introduced to a lot of theory, political theory, social theory, which helped me understand why do we have poverty in the first place. Today, after a lot of research, I've come to understand that poverty is needed for capitalism to grow and thrive. Then how do you go about transforming it? How do you go about changing it? All my search through Western social theory was very helpful to understand poverty, but I didn't find the answers for...
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. I think there's some kind of an echo coming on the connection.
Okay.
But go ahead. I think it should be fine.
An answer, and I found that in my reading of Gandhi, I found that it is based on a more holistic approach, not an approach which divides society. That's what drew me to Gandhi. And incidentally, Jill Carr-Harris, who is the wife of P.V. Rajgopal and a senior Ekta Parishad activist, had come to Toronto in 2009 speaking about Janadesh, and I was immediately drawn to the movement, drawn to the idea. I came back in 2010 to do an internship as Ekta Parishad was organizing, preparing for JanSatyagraha. I had a chance to meet several senior leaders, understand the movement from close quarters, and when I went back to Canada after my internship, I just couldn't stay away. I just thought that this was history in the making and I had to be a part of this. This is what I've committed my life to understand why we have poverty, how do we go about changing it, and I just couldn't be away from this movement. So I just thought I should come back and be a part of JanSatyagraha.
Right. I mean, these are indeed very complex solutions, and I think we definitely need people, like you, Anish, Rajgopalji, and, hundreds and thousands of other people like you to sort of inspire and take this sort of movement forward. So Anish, earlier you said about how Rajgopalji had sort of inspired and influenced the dacoits to lay down their arms and surrender, and also work towards rehabilitation. Can you please, sort of revisit that, and for the benefit of our listeners, can you please explain what exactly happened, why Rajgopalji wanted to sort of tackle the issue of the dacoits, and how did the whole thing happen? Because I think there is very much need for this kind of program even today, not 40 years ago, but I think even now we need to have this kind of a dialogue and this kind of a second chance for people who might have taken a bomb.
Actually, Rajgopalji is born in Kerala, but he's also learned Kathakali and other things, and he came to Sevagram to do his agriculture engineering. At the same time, there was a youth camp which is run by maybe the Mr. P.V. Dr. S.N. Subbarao, who is the director of National Youth Project, who was the first head of the Congress Sevadal, and he is organizing youth camp in Sevagram. Rajgopal was a participant of that camp, and at that time Chambal was a kind of capital of violence in this country. So he asked normally in the camp, there is an issue in Chambal with violence, who is ready to go and work there. So what happened, Rajgopalji when he completed his course, he directly went to Chambal. He didn't went back to home. He went to Chambal, and he started working in village to talk discussion with dacoits and different kind of things. He's normally first time he's collecting milk from villages and selling to cities and raising some money, and he's found a small like ashram there. Finally, what happened? He's also good. Rajgopalji is a capacity to convince people in different way. He's a good singer, good dancer. He's also good speaker. So he, in such a nice way, he got a good space in that all village people's mind, and slowly he is directly trying to intervene in the case group. Finally, what happened that who was like Madhav Singh and More Singh, who was inam like 5 lakh rupees at that time, they are very happy with Rajgopal, and he invites Jayaprakash ji to lead that group and have more activities there. Finally, what happened in the time government of India, Indira Gandhi was Prime Minister in 1972, so government of India declared that entire Chambal zone as a peace zone. So there was no entry to military or police or anything. These people are handling the things with who is doing violence. So at that time, finally, these people are the leaders, a kind of young people there, and he went to Bihar. That was very interesting. He went to Bihar to meet Jayaprakash ji with the More Singh and Madhav Singh, who is the main group leader of Chambal dacoits, and he discussed with Jayaprakash ji that they want to surrender. You can come and do the function. I am already prepared the ground and everything. But Jayaprakash ji was not believing Rajgopal, because he is saying, no, once I will come there, maybe they can change their attitude. But the interesting thing was who came with Rajgopal to meet Jayaprakash ji. They are the leaders. Finally, he told these people are Madhav Singh and More Singh. Jayaprakash ji was totally surprised, and he also took very initiative and did the things in 1972, 14th April. The very interesting thing is that when the function was happening in Murena, it's a district of Madhyapradesh, very small village called Jora. In the function, there was a lot of political leaders and of police officers and DGP of Madhya Pradesh also. In the stage, the Madhav Singh is asking to DGP of Madhya Pradesh, sir, I am stopping my job. I am getting away from my job. I stop my dacoit process. When you will you will surrender from this dacoitcy. It was very interesting thing. So police was very happy with that process. So that process, all these people went to jail, and Rajgopal ji was in charge of that entire rehabilitation process. So not only Ekta Parishad is, we are believing totally 110% non-violence things, and whatever the violence, we are also ready to do the mediation. Even in Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh and Bihar, Jharkhand, where it's an Naxal area, we are also each and every day trying to take government attention. Is that not only with force you can reduce the violence, you can also put some people like Rajgopal or Subbarao-ji or some civil society leaders get involved and do some solution for Naxalism. Even in ULFA process, nowadays ULFA is taking initiative to surrender themselves and doing dialogue with government of India. Rajgopal is the person who is in between now. The thing is that we are requesting, you see, other countries have that peace force and peace armies and other things. We had a 2-3 meeting with our defense minister. What we are requesting, please, you are spending crores and crores to defense. Why can't you can speak, spend each at least 1% of your defense budget? You can form a peace army, give some budget for that, but nobody is taking any interest on that. That is the result. You can see across the country, the agitation is growing up. People are taking violence, and there is like that is very shameful that Gandhi's country, we don't have any space to peace process. There is no peace army, peace ministry, peace media. These are big challenges. But at the same time, what Rajgopalji did throughout the grassroots activities, it is very, very, very inspirable for coming new generation. So that was very nice and very good, very, very interesting thing for my life also.
Right. I think this is actually an incredible story that you just told, because there are a lot of important things that you mentioned. One is the constant engagement with the people who are carrying out were carrying out all these acts of violence. And Chambal at that point in time was a capital city for violence, and how Rajagopalji went in, he started engaging with them, and then how he was able to convince the ministry that this area need not have any presence of armed forces and be declared as a completely non-violent zone, or a peaceful zone rather. And then everybody was willing to sort of welcome them to be part of the society. So these are, I think, three or four different points that are very important in sort of looking at the violence from a more of a holistic view, rather than trying to sort of establish who is the big boss, or trying to say, okay, you have to lay conditions before negotiation. And the point that you mentioned about having a peace-keeping force or having defense budget spent in these for these kind of efforts, I think that is something really required, given how quickly the violence is spreading in almost all these marginalized areas wherever the tribal population is more. So is this something that you are also going to demand as part of this JanSatyagraha movement, that we need to sort of engage in these violent-prone zones, and there is a need for these peacekeeping forces? Is this something that you're also going to demand as part of that? Ravi, you want to take that?
As far as I know, in a non-violent struggle that is operating on principles of Gandhi, we will not be able to bring in new demands or divert attention from what is the purpose of the non-violent action. So we are mobilizing on and working on the issue of land rights. At the same time, Rajagopalji has written numerous letters to the Rural Development Minister, the Tribal Welfare Minister, all the chief ministers of all the states that are affected by natural violence, that we need to create space for non-violence. Teach rural youth non-violence, leadership skills, promote trust building between the community and government officials, organize padayatras so that they can be used as a non-violent method to get the government to deliver on its promises. And as you improve your governance and as people learn the skills to organize themselves, take action on the local issues, the space for violence will automatically come down. We've always been saying, or Rajagopalji has always been saying, between silence and violence, you have the space for active non-violence. And that is something that we advocate through our action in all our communication to the ministers, to the government, and that is an ongoing process through civil society networks, through personal dialogue, communication, advocacy. That will always be there. But this movement in itself will be focused on the issue of land rights. Our negotiation with the government will be on the issues of land rights, land reform. So that's how I think it will end. It will uncover.
I see.
I just want to add on this. The thing is that, you also mentioned at that time how Government of India declared Chambal as a peace zone. There is a big variation at that time and the present situation. You can see the government mechanism and political leaders, all their ideologies totally changed. So that is also a big challenge for us. Nowadays you can see, 98,000 villages no more in Indian's map. So nobody is worrying. Already there is a Ministry of Rural Development. They have no answer to that question. 98,000 villages no more from this India's map. And at the same time, nowadays violence is became a business.
Right.
So everybody wants to keep it. Really, the Naxals are surprising because they are not expanding their area, but the government officers, each collector and SPs are trying to get their district or their area as an Naxal affected area. So they can cover a lot of things. what is happening in the ground, people are making, the government officials, politicians are making a cover of Naxalism and doing lot of things, looting the area. Like you can see Chhattisgarh, Madhyapradesh or Bihar. In the name of Naxalism, they are getting huge money, 25,000 crore rupees the SP will get for one district. So that is the business. Violence is became a business. Earlier maybe the Sainath wrote a book that everybody love good droughts. This is the time to write a book like everybody love good violence. So in that situation we are really challenging, but at the same time we are focusing the land issue, but at the same time we are having a lot of dialogues and discussion with how we can promote these non-violence activities. So it is still ongoing, but we don't want to divert. Like Ravi also told, we want to focus on this land issue. At the same time, we are trying to promote the non-violence process.
All right. Okay.
Example here.
Sure.
Recently, in Madhya Pradesh, the district of Chindwara was declared as a Naxal-affected district. The surprising thing is that the neighboring districts of Chindwara are not Naxal-affected. Betul and Sivni, I think. They are not Naxal-affected. How did all of a sudden Chindwara become Naxal-affected district? The reason why the underlying thinking was that Adani Group is setting up a power plant in Chindwara, and a senior minister is fully behind us. There is a strong local resistance to this kind of transfer of land, fertile agricultural land, to a corporation. How do you put down this protest? Simple thing is declare the zone a Naxal zone, and then use Naxalism to curb all voices of dissent. So that is the politics behind declaring every state as Naxal affected. In places like Gujarat, where people haven't even heard Mao, Adivasis have not even heard the main word Mao, they are being branded or booked under Naxalism and Maoism. They are being told that they are Naxal supporters. So this is a tactic that the government is using to continue its resource transfer, to take away land from the community to the corporation. I want to give one final statistic before I stop myself here. In the last 10 years, 560 million acres of land or hectares of land has transferred from the communities to corporations all over the world. And in 2009 alone, that is 112 million acres. So this is not a problem only in India. This is a global problem of land transfer, water transfer, forest transfer from the community to the corporation. And for that, Naxalism is another way to facilitate the process.
Right. Indeed, it sounds very, a very systematic and very well-designed way of first alienating and then sort of occupying those places or pieces of land and using that for their own advantage. So in terms of just doing this, sort of organizing this sort of a protest or this sort of a movement rather, when you walk into these villages, Ravi, how would you go about approaching this? Like, you're going into this village, you're trying to muster support for your movement, or you're trying to identify causes or local leadership there who have been sort of involved in social issues or solving them. How would you go about? Can you just walk us through like the whole process of engaging with the villagers and making them part of your movement?
There are two parts to this question. One is, what are we doing as part of the Samvad Yatra? The Samvad Yatra is a process to mobilize support for JanSatyagraha. For JanSatyagraha, we have 2,000 organizations around the country lending support, giving consent, and being part of JanSatyagraha. We will have activists, community people from all over the country, not just Ekta Parishad field areas. So JanSatyagraha is a national action. In such a situation, what we do is we go visit the area and try to first understand their problem and document it so that when we represent and initiate a dialogue with the government, we try to find a comprehensive solution that addresses as many issues as possible. Local struggles are on local issues, and we are trying to find a national solution for as many problems as possible. So we understand the problem, express our solidarity, and invite them to be a part of JanSatyagraha. So that is one part of the solution, one part of the answer.
Right.
The other part is what has happened in Ekta Parishad field area. The people who are coming to JanSatyagraha, the 80,000, 70,000 people from Ekta Parishad field areas, they are coming at a time during the harvest season. That is the time when they have most of their income. So they are not going to come unless and until they have deep trust in this process. It's built over 30 years, this trust has been developed. We work today in 10,000 villages, and over time we have built the trust with the people, which convinces them that they can join the struggle, they have some hope. The previous actions are all examples, instances for them where they can trust this process. Everybody who comes from this yatra, they are spending their own money to travel from their village. Sometimes they take a day or two to travel to the nearest major train junction, railway junction, and then when enough people gather at the main junction, they would travel from there in the general compartment. They won't be able to pay the money for the fare. They'll be traveling without paying the money under a revolutionary banner or under a non-violent action, coming to Gwalior. Sometimes it could take as much as 5 days to come from their home to JanSatyagraha. So they're spending their own money. They have been saving money for the last 3 years, 5 years, 1 fistful of rice and 1 rupee every day. The entire community saves that money, and they are making the contribution of that grain to JanSatyagraha. Every person who is coming is making a contribution of 5 kilos. So we are raising about 5,000 quintals of rice from people's contributions. So they see this as their action. It is not our action. It is not somebody else's action. It is people see this as their action. They put their own money and they come for this action. Today, if I ask who organized the 2007 Janadesh, they would say we did it. Yes, we get support from the middle class, from our friends, but the people see this as their action because they have put their money. They haven't been paid anything to come to Gwalior or to undertake this non-violent action. So there are two answers to what you asked. One is through people in Ekta Parishad and then through other organizations.
Right.
I want to add on this. Actually, see, in the village level, earlier when Rajaji started his initiative activities, we are focusing some villages to do more things together. So slowly we are creating some models of their villages. So normally the neighbor villages will come and see, they will be inspired with that, and they want to join us. Another second thing is that Ekta Parishad is never fighting in the banner of Ekta Parishad in other way. You see, if Ravi is having some problem, Ravi want to lead the issue. Whatever problem Ravi is facing, we will fill it. For example, the villagers have no idea how they will apply, how they will write the application, how they will face the code, how they will do the dialogue with the administration. So we will only help on that way. So who is facing the problem, they want to take the initiative. We will only give the backup support. At the same time, we have in our organization structure, we have two parallel things. One is mobilization. We have also the same level of advocacy process. If somebody is giving some application to village officer, the same day, same time, we will also pass it through collector or chief minister of police head, everybody. So there will be a advocacy process which we are believing not only the advocacy can't achieve anything, the same time mobilization can't achieve anything. So we are very strong in our advocacy process and mobilization process. For example, recently I can say, you see, the Shivpur district of Madhyapradesh, in Shivpur district there is a block called Karahal. You may be surprised, nowadays what is happening, the people are selling 1 acre land in Punjab and taking Binami land in Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Orissa and backward area. So what happened in Karahal block, so the Punjabis made around 11 farmhouse in 1500 acres of land. Really the tribals, the Saharia tribes, the primitive tribes, they are the owner of that land, but the government system, the Tahsildar is saying that there is no livelihood things for these Punjabis, so we are transferring this land to the Punjabi people. So they need that wrong public hearing on paper and clear that there is no Adivasi more, so they transfer this land to Punjabis. After this Janadesh in 2007 action, the same people walked from Gwalior to Delhi. They went back. They got some inspiration through all this process. They started the struggle. Only 2-3 months back, 92 tribal family get back their land from this Punjabi people. There was 9 borewell, entire green plan. There was 11 farmhouse. At present, now the tribal people are living on their land. So these kind of success stories, we are also introducing to new villages. Now we are spreading these kind of success stories. The people are getting inspired and coming and requesting to us help them also. So this is another kind of how we are growing. Earlier we only started from Madhyapradesh. Now we are in around 18 states of this country. Directly we are working. So these are some kinds how we are growing as a people's movement in different villages and across country. Yes.
I see. Thank you, Anish, for adding to what Ravi was saying. I have 2 questions from our online listeners. Both of them are actually related. Biju asks, how has the response from the UPA government to the issues of the landless has been? And Akshay asks, how is the response from the government and opposition? Because at the end, it is they who actually have to understand these demands and make the laws accordingly.
You see, actually, last 3 months, we are getting good response from both parties, opposition party and ruling party. Even we had a 3-4 round meeting with Rahul Gandhi, and 3rd January, the Rural Development Minister Jairam Ramesh came to meet Rajgopal in called Tilda. It is very close to Raipur in Chhattisgarh. He came with another Agriculture Minister Charan Das Mahal. So the process, then recently, the May 24th, Prime Minister wrote to Rajgopal, the Planning Commission will meet you on this regard. So 14th August, we had a full bench Planning Commission meeting, which is chaired by Mondat Singh, and myself, Ravi, and Rajgopalji was there to give our idea how we can do the poverty eradication through land reform process. So it is going very nice way. And at the same time, 22nd of August, we had a good meeting with the opposition party leader, Nitin Gadkari ji. He is going to take us to their manifesto creating group and their parliament group, which is led by Arun Jaitley and Sushma Swaraj. And we are every day, nowadays, the meetings of the day for us now. Tomorrow we are having a meeting with Brinda Karat. So we are taking all these people in our concerns on this issue, but the talk and discussion is going well in a very sweet way, but still we are really trying to get some achievement for these 1 lakh people. And the interesting thing is that 19th September, the Jairam Ramesh, who is the Rural Development Minister, he is calling for a special meeting to Rajgopal. And 20th of September, Government of India is organizing a meeting of all state revenue ministers in Delhi, which is chaired by Rural Development Minister, and they are also invite Rajgopal to give his ideas on this issue. Because at the same time, land is a state subject, but it is only when the poorest issue is coming up. You can see there is a lot of acts, Special Economic Zone Act, Mines and Mineral Act, Land Acquisition Act, which is now on the Parliament. All these acts is directly controlled by central government because it is pro-cooperative. When we are asking about for the land for landless people, they will do like a football. Center will say it is a state subject, but state will say you can see all this act is coming from up, so we don't have any role, we can't help you. So we want to solve that issue. That is why I hope this meeting of 20th September will give some more good direction. So anyway, the dialogue process is going on different level, but still we are keeping on struggle. Otherwise, without struggle, we can't achieve anything. The dialogue process is also going in a good way.
I see. Well, that's actually very encouraging to know that you have had some very good discussions with the opposition, with the ruling party itself, and Planning Commission also getting interested. But do you feel somehow that this is all an eyewash, sort of to please you people, the leaders behind the whole movement, and sort of continue whatever development plans the government and the opposition have? Because it does seem like if they are so much in favor of introducing these changes, for them to really take this long to do it, it sounds very, fishy to say the least. Ravi, what do you think of these developments?
We are not being naive in thinking that all the problems will be solved in one movement through one action.
Right.
This is an ongoing struggle. Land being a limited resource, it is being contested, it's being demanded by corporations, by a lot of people. Those who are landowners will not be happy to give up their control over their land. So it's a complex problem.
Right.
What Rajgopalji always says is addressing social issues is like climbing a ladder. Each time you climb one step, you don't expect to climb the entire ladder in one go. So all we look for is to climb enough so that you can come back with more strength, more people gain faith in non-violence. Time and again he keeps saying that every social action is actually an opportunity for social training. From what Aneesh was saying earlier, in the experience in Karahal, the way non-violence is spreading around, that is more important than whether land is being got or not. So we need to achieve something that is at a structural level, at a systemic level, enough for people to get back enough faith. Out of 60 crores or 40 crores who are losing out, 1 lakh walking is a very small number, a small representation of that. This needs to grow. This needs to happen on a much larger scale in every local district, every state. So non-violence has to grow stronger in India. So we can only get as much strength as we have in our non-violence. And our effort is to constantly increase the strength of non-violence in the country so that as we go, as we progress, we are moving towards a more non-violent society, a more just society, a more equitable society. So there is no, we're not cheating ourselves into thinking that we will solve everything in one go.
Right.
But in 2007, we got enough. We got a Forest Rights Act, legal framework that enabled 10 lakh Adivasis to claim for their land. Now they have a framework, a basis to demand their rights from the Forest Department. Similarly, what we hope to achieve is some legal framework that will give people a basis to carry out their local struggle. Ekta Parishad doesn't believe that all the answers will come from one national struggle. We believe that the pressure has to be applied from both the ends, the national level and the local level. We work at the national level for laws and we work at the local level for implementation. So we're doing it both simultaneously. And it's just not Ekta Parishad. Once the Forest Rights Act got implemented, every social activist group has been using it to get it implemented at the local level. So this is an ongoing effort.
Right.
I only have a lot of hope that in the future looks bright when I see Ekta Parishad and JanSatyagraha.
And you see, as a Gandhian organization, we are believing in dialogues. We are ready to keep our dialogue in any dimension because we don't want to fight really with any conflict or anything. We are ready to doing dialogue with any kind of things. And at the same time, you can see the one interesting thing. Last time when we came to Delhi with 25,000 people, at the end of the day, there was more than 10,000 women. The Delhi police give them to new saris to all that women. So recently, last week also, the additional commissioner of Delhi police went to meet Rajgopal in Lucknow, and we had a 2-3 round meetings in Delhi. They are also really taking this issue to Prime Minister, to Rural Development Minister, to opposition, everywhere. So we don't want to play with all this. No, we don't want to do some games with 1 lakh people. We are focusing that how we can achieve something. Like Raviji told, you can also forget about what we got from the government of India last time. But we have 25,000 people, non-violent people who got training in non-violent action. We have 25,000 volunteers across the country at present. So we will hope next time also now we are training, giving 1 month training to 1 lakh people, non-violent training we are giving. So in a different output we will get through this kind of action. At the same time, every time we are saying this is a step of movement, one step of the movement. We can keep it up and do more in the future. So we are believing that. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Anish, for your input. We're almost towards the end of the show, but before I let you guys go, I'd like you to just briefly talk about the actual logistics of the movement itself. Like having these many number of people walk from Gwalior to Delhi. Ravi, you briefly mentioned about how people have been prepping for this event, the villagers themselves contributing 1 rupee every day and contributing 5 kilos of rice and so on and so forth. But the actual walk itself, like what kind of challenges you have and how are you preparing for those challenges?
You see, we have 2-3 kind of challenges mainly. The thing is that after this all big 2-3 movements which is over in India last 2 months, so government is totally watching each and every person of this movement very carefully. Even in Chhattisgarh and Madhyapradesh, you can see all of our activities are getting telephone call from IB department when he is leaving to village or wherever. So government is trying to cut our hands in different way. They are trying to totally watching how much money from where we are getting. They are also giving strong instructions to the different institutions who are really supporting us. So that kind of problem we are challenging. And other thing, earlier also I mentioned, last time when we walked from Gwalior to Delhi, entire the school and colleges, students came on the road and they gave 1 rupee and 1 chapati to each Satyagrahi. This time the government of India declared, give instruction to the all colleges and schools. They can't participate any kind of these activities. So these are some challenges. At the same time, we need, you can imagine, 1 lakh people, one day, we need at least, 25 to 30 lakhs per day for one meal and other things. So we are trying to get in different way. We need 1 lakh water bottles where they can fill the water. We need a lot of things. We need a plastic sheet where they can sleep on the road. We need a ambulance system. We need a good medical system. We need a medicine. So different kind of people trying to mobilize different things, but at the same time still it is a challenge. And the thing is that our movement process is totally decentralized system. For example, 30,000 people are coming from Bihar to join this yatra. Already a group of 50 people had a yatra from Gwalior to Delhi, and they know from there where they will get their water for the 30,000 people, where they will make temporary toilets, where they will sleep. All the things we already prepared, and all states they are coming with their own cooks. We are only providing them some rice or dal or water. They are cooking their own food. So these are the decentralized system which we are doing now. And you can also see from Gwalior to Delhi, there will be a mark with white and green. Each group we have a 100 group, each group having 1,000 people, they know where they are going to sleep. So we did that type of preparation also, but still we are having a challenge in different kind. So we are trying to face it and solve it.
People can support us by writing to the Prime Minister, by writing to the Rural Development Minister, by expressing their solidarity with the movement. We need as many people as possible writing to the government. We have a Facebook page, that is facebook.com/JanSatyagraha 2012. We also have a blog, that is JanSatyagraha.org. In both these places you would find information on how, you would find draft letters, you can find support information on how people can support us through writing letters to the government. That is going to be a very important source of support. We need thousands and thousands of people from around the world writing to the government, requesting the government to take the issues of the poor, the landless poor, very seriously. We have an exhibition in Delhi on the 29th of September. More and more people can come to this exhibition. We can share all this information on Facebook and on our blog site. People can also support us financially. It is taking us a humongous amount of financial resources to organize this action. If you don't provide food for people, then we won't be able to organize this action. it will create chaos. If there's no food, there's no water, that will be chaos. For people to maintain the discipline, we have to provide them food and water and basic necessities. For that, people in the U.S. can make online contribution at sarvodayausa.org and choose in the online donation JanSatyagraha or mention JanSatyagraha in the comments. All this information is available on our Facebook page, on our blog page, and we can post it again at the end of this call. So it's not just financial, but it is also the moral support of people writing to the government, telling more and more people about these actions. And a lot is actually happening around this issue. On September 15, that is next week, 30,000 people in different parts of the world, in Geneva, in London, in Paris, people are taking action. People are having a meal together, and whatever money is being raised is being supported for JanSatyagraha. There is a group, 2 groups in France who are taking Padayatra in France in support of JanSatyagraha. So there's a lot of action that people are already taking in different parts of Europe, to support us. So we'll be very happy if our friends, the diaspora in the US, are also able to support us and support the landless people of India in getting their justice and in getting peace through justice.
Thank you, Anish. Thank you, Ravi. Well, as you guys said, between silence and violence, there's a space for non-violence. And I hope this space is big enough to allow the landless, the displaced, and the faceless to express themselves and put pressure and make development and inclusive process with everyone getting benefited from that. So thank you, Ravi, and thank you, Anish, very much. And we wish you, on behalf of all the listeners, the very best of luck for the big showdown starting October 12th. And if you can please leave your information on NRI Samay page, I'm sure any of our listeners who are interested in contributing will more than be happy to do so.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Suresh. It was a pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you both. So friends, please watch out for the updates on NRI Samay in case you want to support the JanSatyagraha movement. And we will be back next week, same time, same day. This is your host, Suresh, signing off. Thank you and have a good day ahead.